Okay, one more time. Hello, everyone. I'm Tommy. I'm a Guardian lead for Solflare, and I know we are kind of like already been to the stage of like what the topic is, but I will do it one more time. We are in the department of the core skills, and when Maki says core skills in general, it's really something that's like your soft skill set in this space that's always going to be important and viable for different things. And today we have forging your idea. The topic is broad. It can be probably studied in the depths and probably take 5 different workshops to kind of cover everything. But today we will try to give you an overview of how to actually start thinking about it, right? And for introduction, I will kind of like to watch at these two different words. It's management and development, right? And when you think about the word management, it really implies something that's being managed, something that's kind of being maintained. And that really means it's status quo. Nothing is really changing, nothing is really improving. You're just keeping everything running. And sure, it's running smoothly, it's good. Like it's not going to break down. You're doing a good job, but it's not really improving. It's just maintaining what it is. And in this space, which is like a very paced space, right? If you're just maintaining what you have, it's going to decay over time. And your project, your system, your community, whatever it is, it's just not going to be on the same level as it was once you actually did start with the whole managing aspect of it. So like in terms of how to stay in the game and how to actually make your name in the game, it's really development. And development, on the other hand, implies what I was just talking about. Like it's improving, it's building, always like being on the lookout to find that next thing that's going to push your project up, that's going to push yourself up, that's going to push your community on the next level. It's basically the constant pursuit of being better. And I know when you think about the word development, it's often considered to be, like these big guys that are working on all these apps, making them possible, like backend developers, front end developers. But development isn't just that. Like development can be perceived in different ways. And today we are talking about development of the idea. And the idea is the starting point in a way. And a lot of people will tell you that naturally, like if you want to develop something, you're starting with the idea. Well, that's kind of wrong in my eyes, and we'll get to that point. But what you're trying to do is portray that idea is just one small piece of it, and you're trying to make that idea be the achievement, which is not that easy. And this workshop will kind of give you an overview of how to get from idea to achievement. And in Web3, there is that common question of, okay, what are we building? What are we going to ship? What's going to be that next big improvement? Like what? And the answer is usually more. Like just give me more of this, more of that. Let's do this, let's do that, right? And then, okay, but like you might ask yourself, like how? How am I going to ship all that? Like how am I going to develop? How am I going to improve? And once again, this workshop is kind of made with the idea of, okay, let's try to do this together and kind of give an overview of how to actually do it. And why this matters? Because sure, you can have an idea. And I would argue that basically everyone can have an idea. Maybe, obviously, there is someone who is not really creative and he doesn't have that creativity moment of, okay, spark, idea, right? But like in general, basically, majority of people will have a lot of ideas during their lifetime or like in a day span, right? And then having that idea is just one aspect of it. If you're not bringing it to life, you're basically not doing anything. Like you can have 1,000 ideas a day, and some of them can be actually amazing ideas. But if you're never doing anything to bring it to life, it's just the idea that's on the paper or like even in your head, and you didn't really achieve anything. And in that matter, like having that creativity aspect is amazing. Like you need to have the idea. You kind of have that starting point. Okay, like boom, spark. It's a good idea. But if you don't have the structure that's going to follow after having that idea, you're not really moving anywhere. So like the structure is a super important word here. And in this workshop, you're going to hear that word a lot. And why that's all important from the like personal standpoint, right? I would argue that in this space you'll see a lot of people who look very proficient, and you would kind of think, okay, like this guy obviously knows what he's doing. And usually it's not really like that. Like people will have all these fancy ideas, comments on different things, but they will never actually do anything with it. And what I will try for you is kind of like leave this workshop with having the at least the idea of how to make the idea alive, right? And these concepts, like you can probably apply them everywhere. It's just not just Web3. It might get technical at some point, but you can really adapt the whole flow and the whole structure to your life in general, like to your Web2 job, to your like day-to-day activities, to your like relationships. Like this structure is easily adaptable, obviously, and it's really important in all the aspects you probably have in your life, right? And how are we going to do it, or like what are the topics that we're covering here? We have the project structure, and when I said project, it's not just project, it's project, a system, a community, whatever you can think of, like, but it's the structure that's important. Then we are going to see, okay, like how are we actually getting these ideas? Like how are we coming to that eureka moment? Okay, like now I have an idea. And then we'll try to see, okay, now I have the idea, but how am I assessing if that idea is actually quality idea, or is it not quality idea? And then like the last step, it's obviously, okay, now we have the idea, we kind of assessed it's a good one. Okay, so now how do we make it happen? Like the idea execution now. And then I will not try to make this super theoretical and just go yada 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 for an hour. I will try to make it as interactive as possible and have this part of, okay, let's forge a community idea together, like here on this workshop. So for like all of these topics and every single point of theory I'll push out, I will try to kind of cover it with the community aspect of it. And in the end, we hopefully have like a built up community idea that's good and can be put to use, right? Before we get into that part, obviously, this is my personal experience, my personal knowledge that I've kind of collected over time. It's not a holy grail. In any case, it's not something that you should stick 100% to and be like, oh, Tommy said this is it and it has to be that way. No, like it's just a starting point for you to start thinking about this and kind of adapt it to your own style or like however you want to perceive this point, but like have it in your own way and maybe argue with me on some of these topics or some of these points. So it's just my perspective to how to build that idea and how to have it structured up. And now we're kind of getting to the important parts of this bit, right? Structure. It's a word that can mean a lot. It's a word that can probably apply to a lot of different things and aspects in your life. And now we have the sentence that says that structure is foundation of any development process. And that can be kind of abstract, right? Like development process, foundation, structure, like what does that actually mean? And that's why we'll try to use this analogy with the vehicle, right? Let's imagine that our project, our system, our community is like a vehicle. It's just a car, right? And if your community or like your system is a car, then you can probably easily visualize that that car is it's not just what you see on the outside. You know that it has a lot of different pieces in it, and these pieces are what's actually making that car run. And in that perspective, if you have, let's just round up a different number, like random number, 100 pieces, right? Like all of these 100 pieces need to be fully operational in order for car to work. If only one piece breaks down, the car is breaking down, like the car won't work. And in that way, all of these small parts are like a map. Like you have a car, that car has a map of different systems, of different little pieces that are making it run. And it's like a framework, right? And also, these pieces are not really just like a silos. It's not something that's sitting there independently and it's not important. It's not like someone gets an engine and throws it into the car, and he's like, okay, who cares about the engine, right? It's not like that. It's not a chaos. It's not 100 pieces and they're all working independently. No, it's a network. Like you have different pieces in that car which are trying to work together, and they all have to be working perfectly in order for car to run. And the systems are like that in general. If you do not have the structure of your car, you don't really understand how your car works. If you do not know that you have the engine in your car, and that engine is important, you really do not understand how car works. And it's the same with the idea. And when I say it's the same with the idea, it's how you come to the idea. But you have to take a step back and think about, okay, what am I building the idea for? Okay, let's say it's community. It doesn't matter. It can be a system, it can be a project, it can be a community, it can be anything. But you have to understand what your project, i.e., is made of. And we just use the analogy for car. Like I need to understand that car is made of engine, it's made of the exhaust system, it's made of the cooling systems. If I do not have understanding of all of these parts, I do not really understand what's going on the global scale, right? And how is that going to help us, right? Because if I know that I have a car that has an engine in it, I'm not really developing randomly because I know there is an engine and that engine might need some work. And that means I'm actually working on the engine on purpose. I have the intention of working on engine because I know the car. I realize that he has that engine and that it could need some improvement. And the structure itself shouldn't be rigid, like it's adaptable. And that's the whole point of developing. It's not like you have a community that has different aspects of it and none of these can change and none of these can adapt. It's not like that. It's quite the opposite. Like it's really adaptable and it should be adaptable in order to build it up. And that's what we'll try to see on the community example, and it's probably going to be much clearer. But what's important is if you have like a small system that's really simple. For example, let's look at the colors. You have a purple color, right? It's made of a blue and a green color. So like your purple is just made of two different, let's call them small pieces, right? And it's not that complex. You're not going to get lost in it. But if you scale it up and you take, for example, an aeroplane, then you have 1,000 parts or maybe even like 10,000 parts. Then if you don't know the structure of your plane, you have an issue because you don't really know what your plane is made of and you actually don't know where to even start thinking about the idea or the improvement or the development or achieving something big because you actually have no idea what your system initially is made of, right? And now when we take that to the community structure, right? This is just an example. It can be put to like a lot of different of these categories and you can add more items to it. But this is just an overview of how it can look, right? And you have a community here. Okay, so like what is community made of? What is the structure of community? And then we have different categories, right? And let's look at the foundation. Okay, so like my community needs a vision, like why this community kind of exists and what's the ultimate goal that we are trying to get to, why are we doing it, like how do we see and perceive the community. Like you need to have vision. Without vision, your community is just sitting there and it's not really doing anything, right? And then you have core values. Okay, like is your community a degen one? Is your community oriented towards education? Is your community like a very open with the language, or is it something that's like very respectable? It's something that defines your community in the eyes of people on the outside. Like without that, you don't really know what specter of people are you looking to get in. Then you have the North Star, which is a term that kind of symbolizes that one metric that you're focusing on in your project or like your community that's showing you the way of developing and kind of improving, like your final and ultimate metric that you're measuring and you're trying to achieve it. And without that, you obviously again do not have any idea where are you going, because if you start a community that's oriented on NFTs and your ultimate goal is to build I don't know, skyscrapers, I mean, you obviously have some issues there because your North Star is kind of messy and you don't really know where are you heading. And then the community purpose again. Sure, you have a vision, sure, you have the North Star, but like, why is your community existing? Like, these people you brought in, like, what are they doing? Like, what is the actual meaning of them being in your community? And this is just one part of this structure, right? But like, if you do not understand these points, you're already lacking a lot because you can't really perceive your community. You just know, okay, it's community, right? But like, what does that mean? You need to have some orientation and knowledge about it to kind of have the understanding of it. Then we have people. Okay, so like, I need a team to run that community. Who am I getting in? What are the kind of aspects of the people I'm looking to get in? How are we working together? Like, it's very important. If you have a bad team, your community is also going to have issues, like discrepancies in the processes of delivering things, of leading things, managing things, developing things. If you don't have a good team, like cohesive team, like you'll have issues. Then you have contributors. Okay, I have community, and you have a lot of people in that community who are doing different things, who can contribute to a lot of aspects of community. But what are these? Like, who are these people? What are they working on? Like, I need to know that, because if I have 10 good video editors in my community and I do not even know that they exist, like, that's an issue because I could possibly use that to boost the community, to provide some value to them in return. But if I have no idea they actually exist, like, it's an issue. Then again, you have ambassadors, you have people that are actively like leading your community, are being the main faces. If I'm not in constant communication with them, if I do not know that I just added 5 more people in and I never talk to them, it's an issue, because why do I even have them? Like, if I don't understand these people are in, if I don't have an overview of ambassadors in my community, I have an issue. Then you have partners again, like people who you are closely working to kind of push different projects, like to provide community benefits, you to them to you, people who are going to kind of improve the whole ecosystem with you together, right? And then that's the whole section of people. Because if you don't really understand who is part of your community and who are the people who are making your community be what it is, you have an issue again, because you don't really understand what your community is made of. Then we have systems. Okay, so like, if I do not understand the systems I have in my community, how am I going to improve them? Like, if I don't know that there is a governance system that's working this or that way, that we are making decisions this or that way, like, how am I going to improve that system if I don't even know it exists? Or, okay, we have onboarding. Like, if the last time I went over onboarding was 3 months ago and no one mentioned it since then again, like, I have an issue because no one is even talking about onboarding, and it's one of the vital pieces to the community. Same goes with tracking. Okay, I have a lot of people in my community, right? But how am I tracking these people? Like, are they performing well? What are even the metrics I'm looking to get? If I don't have overview, if I'm not thinking, if I'm not understanding that I need and have the tracking aspect in my community, I can't develop it, I can't improve it. Same goes with activations. Okay, like, if I don't know that I have 10 different systems that are there basically for the activity in my community, I can't really improve these systems because I'm not even looking at them. I'm not even looking if they're performing well. I'm not even looking if the maintenance is going good. Like, I just do not understand they exist in that matter. So before I'm starting to do anything, I need to have the overview of all of these things, just to understand if there is something that I need to improve or there is nothing to be improved at all, right? Resources too, okay? Like budget. I need to know what my budget is, like, to do anything. Like, if I want to build something, develop something, obviously I need to know what my budget is. Like, if you're never talking about your budget, if you don't even perceive that you have budget issues or like budget at all, like, you'll have big problems, right? Documentation, data, like, If I don't know where my documents are, if I don't know that I need to build like the whole like backlog of documentation for all of these activations, all of these processes that I have an issue there too, because who is going to improve these flows if not you? If you don't perceive that they are there, that you just can't improve them. And I will kind of stop explaining all of these items here because it's going to take a lot of time. But the point here is like if you don't understand all the aspects of your community, or for that matter system process, you can't approach to these and develop them because you don't actually have an overview of what's even going on. And the key point here is you can develop what you don't understand. Like structure is the blueprint of progress, and it will all be even more clear with the next slide. But what I'm trying to portray here is if you have a project and you, as a person who is leading that project or working for that project and having ownership of different tasks, don't understand what that project made of, you can't really improve it. You can't really develop anything because you have no idea what's going on. And in that way, like having the structure, it's like really like a blueprint, like a roadmap of how to achieve the progress, right? And that is what takes us to the aspect of idea. And I know that ideas are kind of like familiar term and everyone is using that term idea. I have an idea, you have an idea, we all have ideas, right? But how are ideas actually born? I'm sure that a lot of people never thought about this because it's like a human nature to have that idea. But how are the ideas usually born? How do they actually come alive? What we just did with the community example, right? It's we mapped out the structure of what we have in front of us, right? Like I have a car, I have an engine, I have a cooler system, right? Like all of that, I have it in front of me. I have the structure. And now once I have the structure, and I'm spending my time in that project in like working day to day, I'm kind of observing what's happening. Like I know that I have an engine. Now I'm kind of like observing how the engine is behaving. Are there some weird noises? Are there some leaks? Or maybe is engine working perfectly fine? But like now I can actually look at something because I know where to look at because I did the whole structure thing. And now, when you think about it that way, this might sound a bit like OCD, but day to day work, it's not like you have it fully noted down and you're like going, okay, this, it's good, this, it's good. Like, you're not doing that. But like every day you come to work, you have that like psychological brain thingy where you're like scrolling through your mind through these different structures or like items in your structure, and you're like, okay, like activations are kind of looking good right now, tracking is good. Wait, maybe onboarding isn't that good, maybe I have some issues with like onboarding. And that's this experience and observing part. It's easier when you have the structure. Structure, okay, then the experience comes in because you're spending your time in Web3, for example, and you've been to different jobs, you clocked in, I don't know, like 500 days in a row. Like you obviously have some experience, and you kind of brushed your senses in terms of observing and kind of seeing what needs some fine tuning. And with that observing, you're finding these friction points and inefficiencies. As I just said, like the example could be like you were doing this, it's good, it's good, it's good. And then, okay, like I'm seeing that something is not super efficient here. It might need some improvement, right? And at that point, you're getting the idea. And that's how the ideas itself like are born, because you need something to look at to understand that it needs improvement. Otherwise, you're just like shooting in the dark. It's random. And we're not trying to develop randomly. We're trying to develop intentionally because we are trying to improve what actually needs improvement. And at that point, you might say, okay, I have an idea, right? Like Eureka, I have an idea. I'm a new Einstein, right? But is it really? Because you just got to the point of, okay, I have an idea, but is that idea a good idea? Or is that idea something that's actually going to become the achievement, or it's going to be the failure if you kind of start pursuing it? And that's what we will try to kind of explain here in the following sections on how to kind of see if your idea is good. But to kind of like wrap it up with this slide is your idea is going to emerge from understanding. And that means you understood that some part of your community or project needs improvement, right? But the understanding part came from having the structure. Without having the clear overview of all of these items that could need improvement, you can't really decide or have that idea that, okay, that part might actually need an improvement. So to connect all three dots is really ideas, understanding, structure. Like ideas are born from understanding, and your understanding is there because you have the structure, right? And then again, to not bore you with the theoretical part fully, let's see this idea, right? We are in the community, XYZ community, doesn't matter. And we are scrolling our brain picture of our structure and our items. And we're like, okay, governance, it's good. We don't have any issues there. Onboarding, we just solved some issues last month. Tracking is always working perfectly. That's our best part. Automations, good. We are fully automated right now. Everything's smooth. And then you get to the activations part and you're like, man, maybe we have some issues, right? And you kind of like were observing, obviously, it's not like one day issue, one day thing. You were observing that part for some time and you realized, okay, like I have low activity in Discord, and the same is happening with my X community group. Like my community is just performing kind of with the low activity right now. And what can I do? And that's your eureka moment. Okay, like maybe I can come up with something here, right? Let's create a Discord native, educational, quests campaign system that requires community members to work together on creating threads about the latest product updates and post it in the X community. And I know this idea kind of has 4 lines of text and it looks like a big idea. And I will just shortly and briefly go over it because I will explain it into details later on. But like we're looking for it to be Discord native. Why? Because we have a low activity in Discord and we're trying to kind of give people a reason to be active in Discord, right? We have the educational aspect of it because we are not trying to run something that's just going to be there and like do this, like we are ordering you to do this. No, like we're trying to provide a value, right? Then we have the quests campaign system, which means, okay, it's a system for one. So like it's something that needs some sort of development in terms of it's not just like a random message sending, it's like a certain flow that we are going to be working on. Also, it's a campaign, which means it's not just like a single quest that we are launching. It's something that's going to be happening over the time in like a bigger time frame. And then we have quests, which kind of implies we're going to have some rewards for this. Then we have the aspect of community members working together, which I will really get into later. And what are they going to be doing? They're going to be creating threads about the latest product updates of our company and then post it in the X community, which kind of solves the issue of low activity in X community because we are going to get the posts, we're going to get the replies, yada, yada, yada. But that's our idea. And now the big question, like the grand question is this idea good? Like, does this idea actually make any sense at all? This could be just like some my yapping that I put into this slide, and I was like, okay, guys, this is a good idea. Let's do it. Like, who says it's a good idea? Maybe it's completely wrong. And that kind of goes back to the whole aspect of us saying you can have an idea, sure, but like, is that idea really good and worth pursuing? That's what we need to find out. Because if we don't find that out, we'll have different issues that we'll also get into later. But to kind of explain the whole process again with the connecting 3 dots, right? We have the structure, like we know what the systems are. It's governance, it's onboarding, it's tracking, it's activations, automations, yada yada. And then we have the observing part where we were following all of these items on the list over some period of time. And then we noticed we have some inefficiencies, some needs for improvement in activations department. And we were like, okay, like I could improve something here. Here is my idea. And that's how this idea was born. Main point here is the clearer your structure is, the more visible your ideas become. And if you think about it, like if your structure is super well written, when I say written, I just mean like you have it super well organized, structured, then you can really like brain scroll all of these items in your structure and be like, okay, like now I can easily see what's working well and what needs to be improved to some extent. And that's how you get the idea. That's how ideas become visible. It's not just like a random shot in the dark. It's something you came up with a reason, right? And then we are kind of heading to the place of, okay, like let's see how good our idea is. A good idea doesn't just sound good, it fits, it solves and lasts. And it's really like an inspirational quote here of why the idea is good. But what the important part here is, having determined if your idea is good or not, if it's a quality idea, it's going to be the answer on the question, are we actually going to pursue this idea or not? Because if your idea is good and you assessed it's good, then it might be worth pursuing. And if your filters kind of said, okay, this idea is not that good, then maybe you'll stop. Maybe you'll be like, okay, let's think twice before we actually start doing this because it might not be worth, right? And the ideas are abundant. We kind of said that a few times over this workshop, but it's a very important point. It's something that like everyone can have an idea, and everyone can just pop in and be like, "Hey, Tommy, let's launch Guardians to the moon next month." Amazing! That's super cool idea. Amazing idea. Like, is it really eureka moment? Like, sure, it sounds amazing, but how are we going to do it? Let's kind of filter it and see if that idea is good and is it like a quality idea or it's really not. And that leads us to the part that quality ones are actually really scarce. And to have a quality idea, it's not just waking up and being okay, like this is good. No, like we really need to filter these ideas to see what's good. And why are we filtering and why did we say okay, let's stop and think twice? Because we need to save resources. We can't just approach every single idea we have and be okay, let's push it, because that like needs from us certain things, and that's called resources. We need time, we need budget, we need efforts, we need more people, maybe we need like a new tech stack, we need a lot of different things that are going to be making that idea happening and making it possible. But if it's not worth pursuing, we're just wasting resources we have that might have been put to something that's really good. And in that sense, having the quality ideas is really just meaning scaling. Why? If I just take, for example, I do one idea monthly, right? And I spend 9 months doing bad ideas. I wasted 9 months worth of resources. And if instead I was filtering these ideas and I realized, okay, these ideas are bad, I need a good idea, and I filtered it down and came down to the quality idea, and I pushed 9 months of quality ideas, then I didn't really lose and kind of waste my resources. I've put them in the right place, and that's if you kind of perceive that chart like you're going like this because you're building quality project. It's not like you're standing here because all your projects are bad, or you're even like going down because your ideas were just not good. And in that term, it's really okay, if it's quality, it's going to lead to some sort of scaling. And the next item here is failure. Failure is not an issue, distraction is. And it fits to the quality aspect of it, right? To the resources aspect of it. If you filter it down and you and your team, you were like, okay, this is a quality idea, it's worth pursuing, and you do it and you push it out, you ship it out, like you did everything you possibly could to make sure it's good, and it turns out to be a failure, right? Like it's not working. Well, that in itself, it's not an issue. Why? Because you did everything you could right. Like you did everything you possibly could in the best possible way you knew. What's what the issue is, what the problem is, if you were not thinking about it, if you were lazy to think about it in the first place, and you just picked the first idea that came to your mind, you put all your resources and you build that idea, and it's a failure, right? And then it's an issue. And that's where you lost your resources, you lost your possibility of scaling, and that's an issue. Like doing everything right and then failing, that's going to happen. It always happens. Not everything you touch is going to turn to gold because that is just not possible. So in that way, like distraction is what the issue is, not the failing part itself, right? And what's going to help us here is kind of circling back to the structure word again. And I said it's going to be showing up a lot in this presentation because structure here, when it comes to assessing if the idea is a good idea, if the quality of that idea is good, it's going to serve us with the objectiveness. Like if we have a structure when it comes to filtering the idea, then we can be okay, like we objectively decided that this idea is good or this idea is not good at all, right? And now we'll proceed to kind of see what the structure is when it comes to the quality of the idea and what are these items you need to look for when you're trying to evaluate if your idea is good. And to approach this, we'll try to answer some questions for ourselves and then see the items in the structure, right? So the value aspect, who benefits and for how long? Super important question, right? Like you have an idea, good, that's amazing. What's the value of that idea? Who benefits and for how long? Okay, what are the items? Problem solution, right? So I have an idea. Which problem that idea solved? Like what was the issue you spotted that you were trying to solve with this idea, right? Like that's super important question. User value, sure, you're solving your issue, like you have the issue, you're solving it, but like what are the users getting? Because someone could say, okay, like my issue is my treasury is low and I will take $100 from each person in my community. Sure, I just solved my treasury issue, but like what did the user get? He just basically spent and wasted his $100 for no reason. So like you need to think about the user value in your idea. Then scalability. Sure, your idea is good. It's solving a problem, it's giving users some value, and it's working on like a test subject of 50 people, right? And if it's working good, can we scale it up? Like, will it work if we push it up to like 1,000 people or 10,000 people? Or if that system you're building and it's working now for 1,000 people, if we scale the community up to like 10,000 people, is it still going to work or not? It's a very important question because you have a scope of your idea. You know how beneficial that idea is going to be in the future. And that's how we basically come to longevity part. Okay, like your idea is viable now, it's working very well, but for how long is it actually going to be there and it's going to be performing well? Like if you don't know the answer to that question, or you're like, I'm not really sure if it's going to be good in a month time, then it might not be worth building it, because if I'm spending 5 days 10 days to build like a small idea, and you're telling me that you're not sure it's going to be viable in a month, then that idea is probably not the best one, right? Then we have the next question, and that's, does this idea fit our project? And that's kind of strategy aspect of it. Sure, maybe your idea is amazing. Maybe your idea is like revolutionary. It's a breakthrough that's like super cool idea. But sure, still, if it's not aligning with the vision of your company, of your system, of your project, you again have an issue. For example, if you're portraying yourself as like a company that's pushing all the security aspects, like everyone is safe, and then your idea is kind of revolving about something that's really unstable, unpredictable, like you might have some issues there, right? Which will also come down in the risk aspect and like reputation aspect, which is kind of similar. Like you can't really push everything you think of because you might harm yourself in the process. Then you have market timing. Okay, your idea is good so far. Is market good for that now? And the best example we have in Web3 would be if someone is building something related to NFTs right now. Sure, we all love NFTs. It's maybe the best idea ever, but like market and NFTs, like you obviously see the problem, right? So like we shouldn't be pushing the NFT thing right now, probably. Maybe not. But like that's marketing timing aspect of it, right? System synergy. Okay, we are building this idea, but like how does that idea fit the existing systems we have? Like, is it going to cause us a lot of issues in terms of us actually developing that idea? And if you're building an idea that's going to cause like discrepancies in 10 different like projects or systems you have, like it's a good question if it's worth to build it. Then like the value aspect comes in, and it's like, okay, if the value is so big, then maybe it's worth, because we can maybe put a stop on something else we have in the company right now to push this one. But like in general, you have to think about your idea for it to not cause any discrepancies on different aspects of your community project, whatever you have, right? Okay, so how this idea affects our infrastructure, which is kind of close and similar to system synergy. But we have the integration part. Okay, it's a good idea so far. How are we going to integrate it in the structure we have? For example, all the systems you had so far have been building some sort of quest-like systems that are kind of revolving around education. And now you're trying to push out a project that's basically something related to meme coins. Let's just push it that way, right? Like you maybe have some like issues with integrating that into your resistance system. Then you have dependencies. Okay, we will integrate this, but what's kind of like the time frame we have here in terms of, okay, like what needs to be solved before we can push this idea? If I have 10 different things I need to solve before I can start pushing this idea, then again I kind of have an issue, because the timing is probably not the best for this idea, because there is a lot of different things we are working on right now that kind of require us to focus there and not on this idea. Then the complexity again. If the idea is so complex that you need a lot of resources, you need like a very heavy integration, you need a lot of people, and your value is not that high, then maybe it's a good question. Are you going to kind of approach and push for that idea? Then fragmentation, which kind of goes into the integration part too. If all of your projects so far have been around education and now you're pushing out a gambling product, you kind of have an issue, because that gambling product, if it's not super integrated and kind of in a network sort of relation with these education aspects, you have a silo. Like you have a whole team that's working on that idea, they're trying to develop it and push it out, but that idea is just working for itself. It's not connected to education at all. And that's the issue, right? Then the grand question of it all, can we afford it? Can we sustain the idea? Budget, obviously. Do we have enough funds to pursue this idea? Do we have enough people to pursue this idea? Do we have enough time to go for this idea right now? Because if it takes a year to build what we're trying to build, like that's a kind of issue. Maybe we can think about it. Then maintenance, okay, we build it, we ship it, everything is cool, everything is working well. Who is going to be maintaining it? Like what is the cost of maintaining? How much people do we need to maintain the idea? And then the grand question of priority, right? Like if we have 15, 20 different projects or like ideas that are quality ideas, and then this is the 21st quality idea that we have. Okay, like is it the priority based on all of the other items in this structure, right? Like one idea can be super cool, the idea can be super cool too, but if this one is so much easier to ship and the value difference is small, maybe this one is better. If it breaks, does it break us? And that's the gambling meme coin type of situation in this space, especially if your project is not like fully portrayed as one, like if you're pushing something else for the long time and then you're like, okay, now I'm pushing gambling, like that gambling part might kind of ruin what you were building until that point. So like whatever you're trying to push, the every idea you have needs to go through that reputation part and be like, okay, this might be an issue for our reputation, and we're not trying to kind of make our name go down in terms of like the positioning in the ecosystem, right? Then economic aspect of it. Okay, you shipped the product, like your idea is now live, and your idea is bringing some revenue. And for example, your revenue of that idea is taking the majority of revenue of your whole community, of your whole project. And then if that idea breaks down, you're basically losing all the revenue you have. And that's an issue. Like you can't have like one big source of income, because if that source of income just completely disappears, you are in problems. And also on the other note, like if the budget for this is just like insane, like you need a lot of funds, like you can also be in some economical issues when it comes to the treasury of your project system or whatever. Governance, again, like this idea you're building, like is it really changing some things in terms of like how are we making the decisions, how are we voting on this? Like if we need to push this idea and it's causing discrepancies in the system we have when it comes to like making decisions for our community, for example, then it also might be a question of, okay, maybe this is not the best way to approach it. Technical would be the aspect of, okay, I'm building this idea, and if that idea breaks down, if that whole system is in some sort of way compromised, right? Is everything else going to follow? And that's the issue. Like if you're building on top of that idea, for example, that idea was something super techy, it was some system that you built for your community, and then you were building 10 different ideas on top of that one. So if that one breaks, like everything you build is falling apart. So you have to take that into consideration too, right? And then this is kind of like my favorite part. And it's okay, can we prove the idea is good? Sure. Like all of these items we had in our structure can be covered, and you're like, okay, good, 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 good. Everything is good. Everything is working fine. Okay, prove it. Like you just said it's good. Sure, prove it. Like, can you prove it's good? Like once it's out, can you prove it's good? Huh? The answer might be not really, and that's an issue, right? But if we look at the items, it's the success, okay? So like that's your idea. How are you going to measure that idea was successful? Like give me some sort of KPI for the success. Like so once it's shipped, once it's out, then we can go over on our agreed success metric, and we're like, okay, it's success, right? Then how are you going to do the testing part? Do you have a plan on how are you going to test your idea? Then once you're done with the testing, how are you going to collect the feedback? Do you have any sort of way to get the feedback for your idea? Then can you track the data? Like, do you have any numbers that are going to show and kind of prove that your idea is good? Because if you don't have that, that's also an issue, because you can't really prove it's good. Like, if it's something that's like gut feeling, oh, it's a good idea. Yeah, yeah, it's working very well. Sure, prove it. Like, give me some numbers. Like, let me know how good is it performing, right? And then the iteration part. Do we have enough space, enough room to wiggle around and kind of improve the idea we already kind of are building, or like we already built and shipped based on the feedback, data, testing that we have? And in the grand scheme of things, like this structure is just like a tiny portion of it, and you can probably expand it for a lot and think of a lot more items. But for the purpose of this workshop, I think this is enough to give you like a very good overview that just having an idea doesn't really mean that that idea is good. If your idea was, as I said, let's ship guardians to the moon next month, okay, like now I'm looking at these items here and I'm like, that idea is probably not good, right? So the whole point here is, on the last slide we were talking about, we are going to kind of filter the idea. We're going to see if that idea is a good one, if it's any good. And you probably didn't think there is going to be this much items that we are going to be filtering through. And now maybe even you had an idea that was like, okay, this might be good, Tommy. And now when you see in this slide, you're like, okay, I'm kind of seeing red on a few of these items, which is an issue. And basically that's why we have the structure. And the structure always has that kind of mark and kind of connection with the understanding. Like once you have the structure, then you can fully filter, then you can fully understand, then you can be objective and be like, okay, if I have 20 different items here, and 17 of these items were good. Okay, maybe the idea is good. And then you look at these three that are kind of left, and you're thinking maybe these three are kind of overwhelming the 17 that are good. So like having the structure, it's going to enable you to understand if your idea is good. And now that we went over if the idea is good in terms of how are we going to filter, let's try to do it on our community idea, right? And this is what's happening in my head basically day to day. So let's go. Value. Problem solution. What are we solving with our idea here? Well, we are solving the issue of low activity in Discord and X community group, right? Like we are launching a Discord native quest, which means that our community members are going to be working together in Discord, in their group chat, on creating these threads, which means they are active there in Discord. Plus, once they post it in the community, we are getting the activity there. Like the post is up, the replies are there, we are getting that engagement, we can track it, by the way, but we are solving the problem of the low activity, right? Okay, user value, educational aspect, right? And when I said educational, what does it really imply? Well, okay, they're working together, so they're improving their soft skills in terms of communication, teamwork, how to kind of scrape the data that you're getting served, or you kind of have to look for it on your own. On the other hand, what you're doing is basically constantly deepening your knowledge about the space. For example, if you're talking web3, if you're creating threads on the latest product updates, you're constantly in the like step to step, head to head with the product that's coming out. So like you're constantly being updated and kind of like deepening the knowledge of the product that is out there, right? Then you have the aspect of kind of practicing how to create content, and you're in that feedback loop with other members of your community that are working on it. So like user value is there. It kind of seems it's there, right? Scalability. Sure. Okay. Let's say we are starting with 5 of these small groups of our members working together, right? And they're deepening all the knowledge they have, like the user value we just talked about. They're solving the issue for us in terms of like problem solution. They're also getting some rewards since like it's the quest campaign system. So if it's working for 5 people, like why it's not going to be working for 100 groups of people, right? Well, maybe it's not going to be working because you won't have enough people who are interested. Maybe you'll have like rewards that are too small. Maybe you're going to have just like too many posts that are coming out about that product update, so it kind of just becomes a mess. So like, can you really scale it up fully, or is there like a certain ceiling? There are like questions that will be on the opposite side, and then like for the plus side of the scalability, yeah, you can scale it. Like you can scale it from 5 groups to 50 groups, and if you have 50 groups that are pushing content for the each update you're kind of like doing in terms of product, you have 50 quality threads that are coming out. So like that's a scale, right? So scalability, it's a debate, but like let's say it can go or it cannot go. We're just talking about longevity wise. I do not see a reason why this wouldn't run for the longest time ever. Like if your company is operational and they're pushing product updates out, and you have people who are interested and you have people who are being rewarded for what they're doing, like I don't see the issue with longevity. Like they will be showing up, creating these threads, and as long as you have content for them to create, and as long as they are getting the value in return, like it's going to work. So like longevity wise, it's good. So in my eyes, like value of this idea is good. Let me just put like a small mark here. It's not bad, right? Then we have strategy. Okay, vision alignment. And this is now just like a talk between me and the screen because I can't hear you, but we are kind of like making assumptions here. And let's say our company is something that's educationally oriented, it's oriented towards helping people. We are pushing the healthy narratives out, right? So, like, having the system where we are kind of building small teams that are cooperating and working together on creating something that's basically an educational content doesn't seem like an issue with the vision, right? Then market timing, once again, like I don't see issues because it's not related to a trend. It's not related to something that's risky or in the moment. It's something that can last for a long time, like in terms of longevity. And since we are not like being trapped in a box because of some trend, the market timing doesn't really make such a difference here, right? So like market timing, good. System synergy, again, if, and this is again an assumption, right? But like if our vision alignment was good in terms of our company that's focused on education, yada yada, then the system synergy is going to be good. Why? Because if the whole company is about that, then we were building the same things in our community, like systems, flows, everything we have was oriented in that same aspect. So like the system synergy won't be an issue here because the different products and flows and systems we have in the community are also in the kind of same niche, right? And that's why this educational kind of campaign is still going to be a good fit. So strategy, okay, not bad. And once I finish this, I will kind of like say a sentence. If you think something was off here and you think like, okay, I don't really agree with Tommy, like let's do shoot a question. Oh, it's a good time to remind you all like top three questions, 20 USDC. So shoot a good question. Let's see it. Infrastructure, how this idea affects our infrastructure, right? Integration. As I said, if we were already building for these education sort of systems, like integration of this should not be that hard. And that's like system synergy wise. But now, like, we have a question of what do we need to build in order to make this happen, right? And it's not really something crazy. We just need some smaller groups of people in Discord, which is probably just few channels, and when it comes to quest campaign systems, it's something that we were already doing before in sort of a way because of what we were pushing before related to the company and its vision and in its synergy that we had like basically for the lifelong time for our community, right? And then you have dependencies, and this is really just assumptions here. So like we can skip it because we just don't know. It's an imaginary example. I don't know if we have any projects that are kind of like we need to solve them before we can start pushing this one out. So like dependencies, we can't really say. Complexity, this really isn't a complex idea. Like in terms of being fully objective about this idea, complex would be sending guardians to moon next month. This is not a complex idea. So like complexity wise, good. Fragmentation, once again, it kind of fits the scheme of education aspect of our community, which is good. So like infrastructure, it's good. Why not? It seems like all of the items are fitting in its place. Nothing is really falling out of the picture. So infrastructure wise, we should be good. Resources, okay. Budget, our expenses here are really just building that quest campaign system, and we already have some sort of that kind of installed. So the cost here is really just the community team that's already working on similar things. So like the budget is not the issue, right? Manpower, what do we need? Maybe two community managers to get these teams formed, right? Then we need probably a dev or two to get these systems working, so we don't have any issues once it's live. Time wise, okay, maybe we need like a day or two to draft everything up, to know exact flow we kind of need. Then we'll need some time to create all of these groups, get the people in, explain the idea to them. In the same time, our devs are probably going to be working on the quest system, and then we can ship it out. So like all in all, like we are probably in some sort of like 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 time wise, which is not that bad. Maintenance, we just need to check in with people for that feedback part, that data part. And when it comes to like maintaining the system itself of the quests, like that's something that's usually very and fully automated, which means there is not a lot of maintenance around it. Priority, it's again like assumption wise, we'll just skip it because I, for this example, do not have what's the priority in terms of other ideas. But like resources wise, it doesn't seem like this is something that's going to take a lot of our resources at all, right? So like resources, good. Risk, reputation wise, again, if we were already working on something like this before, like education wise, whole companies that is in that direction, we are not having issues with reputation. Economic, this is not really revenue generating idea. So it means if this idea breaks down, we are not going to lose the community or like the whole company itself, right? So like economic wise, we're good. Governance, also like the idea is not changing how we have the structure of making decisions inside the community, so like we are also check marking that one. And then the technical aspect is we are basically building this idea on top of some other systems we have or kind of adapting it, which means if those systems fail, then we have maybe an issue. But like for this idea in particular, we do not really have that part of if this idea breaks down, our whole flow or like our whole systems are going down. So like risk wise, we're also kind of okay. Success, how are we going to kind of measure if this is good? Okay, like that's something you sit down with your team and you're like, okay, how do we know this idea is good? You just have to talk about it. Like if we are starting off with 5 teams and we're giving ourselves like a month time of work, how good these content pieces have to be, what are some metrics we are looking to get, like let's define the success, right? And we can just do it for fun here, okay? Let's say we've put down five groups of people who are working together, and we are going to be pushing, I don't know, one product update a week, right? So like that means we need 20 different threads about these products, and we can track different metrics in terms of engagement and stuff like that. We put some KPIs and we say, okay, that's the success rate. We want people to be happy in these groups, so we need to also like look at that part. Then testing part is okay, as I said, we had community managers set up these groups. We explained the whole flow and the whole system and how is it going to be working. Devs just shipped the whole system, and now we are in the testing phase. Like now they know how to access these quests, how to like get the data they need. They're now working together in the groups, they're pushing that content out, and we're like, okay, it seems to be working well, or not. Like it's not working well at all, we need to fix this part, that part. Also, we're asking them like, okay, feedback, is it good? Like, do you think we can change something? Do you need help with anything? Is some part of this flow kind of messy and it doesn't really make sense and it could be so much simpler? Please let us know. Then we have data. Okay, like if 5 of these groups, we have only one that's pushing out content that's good, then we have basically a very bad database based on the other 4 groups. Then iteration, like we take all of these into the account and we're like, okay, maybe we need to kick some people out, add some more people in. Maybe we cut down from 5 groups to 4 for the start. Maybe we can do some improvements with the flow of the quest system itself, and so on and so on. Like, so this will be like a process of evaluating your community idea through the structure we was just talking about. So like, okay, this is the evaluation structure for the quality of my idea. I just took my idea and went through it. And this, when it's in your head and you're like kind of have experience with this, it takes some time obviously, but it doesn't take 3 days of talking to get this, or maybe it does. And that's the part of it, because if you can't pinpoint what's the complexity, if you can't pinpoint if the market timing is good, maybe you'll need to have like 5 different meetings with 50 people in your company to kind of find and decide if it's good. And I'm talking about that if the idea is really big, right? If the idea is kind of small and it's not affecting the whole company, and it's just like a small idea in your department, it's not going to take that long. But like, this is how I would approach evaluating if your idea is good. And I wouldn't be, I don't know, calling Maki, hey Maki, I have this amazing idea, it's super cool, we gotta do it, if I didn't go through this. Like, I can't show up to someone and be like, hey, I think this is super cool, we need to do it. And okay, what's the user value? Well, users don't really have the value. I mean, like, what are we even talking about? So if you are not going through this sort of filtering in any like kind of scale, right? Like it doesn't have to be this detailed, especially if you're not working on something similar. But like in general, like in everything in life, you should kind of have some sort of structure when it comes to evaluating your crazy ideas. If your idea is, I will jump off the bridge today and I will fly, well, maybe you should ask yourself, are you really going to fly if you jump off, right? So like these structures can be implemented really everywhere. That brings us to the key point of the quality, and that is that ideas are infinite and the execution capacity is not. Like we do not have resources to execute every single idea you can think of. We just don't, or you just don't, right? And these quality filters that we have protect the momentum. Like we are ensuring that our project, our system is moving in the right direction and it's scaling properly because we are not wasting our resources. We are putting them where they should be. And that gets us to the last part of this workshop, and it's idea execution. Okay, so we had our structure, we understood the structure. From that understanding, we kind of observed and we've spotted that there is an issue, and we came up with the idea, right? Then we took that idea and we went to the filtering and we decided, okay, this idea is good. It's a quality idea. And all of that was kind of thinking part, right? Like we were just thinking how this whole thing might play out. Like, does it really make sense? We were just thinking. Now we are kind of in the aspect, okay, we need to start doing it. We decided it's good. It's good to go. Ship it. How? Okay, what are we doing now? Like, okay, sure, it's amazing idea. It's super cool. Okay, so what now, right? Well, that's why we're kind of on this slide. Let's see how to execute the idea. Once we have that aspect of it's good, we can finally approach the whole development process. And we're now finally stepping from the aspect of, okay, we had some potential, it was good or it was not good, and if we realize it's good, we can finally start putting it to the reality. Because all of this was just thinking. And I know now that you can look back to it, it was a lot of different items that you had to think about before you even got to some executing part. And if you remember when I started this workshop, I said some people might think that okay, like I have an idea, I go to executing it in 10 minutes. Like it's a good idea, let's ship it, right? It's not really like that, or it should not be really like that. And here, kind of like the important part is that the execution is not just a plan in terms of like, okay, this is the flow we are doing, like a straight line. It's more of a cycle thing where you have all of these aspects you just filter through, like quality wise. And there is a lot of iterations that kind of change over time, and you're kind of like moving into cycles that are moving forward, right? And what's going to help you there, it's again structure. Like there is no better explanation to doing anything than having like a clean structure on how to do it. If you have steps to do it, you can do it. Like if you know you need to like jump 10 meters ahead, sure, like do 10 jumps of 1 meter each. Like you know you need 10 of these. You know the structure of how to get to these 10, right? It's the same here. You want to execute the idea, okay, you need some structure to do it. If you don't have a structure to do it, you don't really understand how to execute. And if you don't really understand how to execute, you're probably not going to ship something that's quality. It's probably going to kind of be a failure, right? So we are again at our famous structures, right? And here we have really kind of like a shortened list because this can be like a lot longer one. But again, for the purpose of the workshop, I've put these down and we'll just, I'll kind of speed up a bit. Core objective, right? Okay. So we need to identify what's that, like the core, the main thing we need to achieve by building this, and not in terms of like what's our success here, no, like in terms of building it up, like what we need to ship it, what's the core thing we need to ship it, right? Then we have the phases. Okay, like if we know what's our like end goal, then we okay can do the phases. In the first phase we are doing this and then this and then this, and now we are the core objective, we did it, right? Then we need time frames. Okay, how much time do I need for each phase? How much time do I need for each task that needs to be done in order for this to work? Okay, roles. Who do I need? Okay, I need 10 devs, five of these guys, five of these guys, 10 of these guys to make it happen. Sure, but I need to have it noted down. I need to know that there is a structure to it of like people who I need. Then dependencies, okay? In these phases, in these time frames, there might be some things that can't be even started until something else is finished up. So that's why you have the whole kind of flow, the whole gantogram, it's so-called gantogram of things you can kind of start once something else is done or not done. So like you need to have that in mind too. Then resources, again, okay, budget. Now, when you're looking at the execution part of it, it's not budget in terms of, okay, like I need that and that much money, which we were talking about the quality of the idea. Now it's okay, there is budget. Okay, so I need budget for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. Like tools are going to be this expensive. My contributors are going to be this expensive. My subscriptions for this or that. My rewards for quests, like whatever you think of, this is the budget here. Like we need expenses, right? Um, Tools, like which tools do I need to make this happen? Like maybe Discord. Do I need to buy some premiums? Do I need some graphic design tools? Tech stack, the same thing. Like in terms of developing the whole structure and like the system of the product we're trying to ship, like what do we need? Do we need more devs? Do we need some new infrastructure thing that we need to build up? Like we need to understand that part too. Then we have contributors. Okay, we know the rules, but like who is doing that? Okay, I need I need a community manager. Okay, Tommy can do that, right? Like he can cover that thing up. I need a BD guy for this. Okay, I call Miro. Miro can cover this thing up, right? So like it makes sense. Oversight, again, all of these tasks, all of these phases, time frames, budget, you need someone to look over it. Like you need to have a person who has that designated task that's going to be like, okay, it's going good, guys. For example, if Maki is calling me and he's asking me, hey, how are we standing up with this presentation for the workshop? And I'm like, yeah, it's almost done. Like he's kind of like taking that oversight. He's watching me and kind of observing, and he can be like, okay, he's doing good. Like we are on the schedule, everything is okay. So like we need the oversight too. Then we have the minimum viable version or MVP. It's like a product term that explains what's the minimum required state of your product for you to show it, right? For you to show that it's working. And in it, you're just kind of like explaining the simplest aspects of it. You're just showing it works, it can be used for testing and to get that like feedback and iteration. And then you're proceeding to build on top of it. So like it's something you're basically showing up to see if it actually makes any sense or not, right? Then you're proceeding to the testing aspect, like how are we going to test it? Who is going to test it? That was like the questioning part of the quality idea, but now we're actually testing it. Okay, so like these guys there, we're going to ship them this, we're going to collect the feedback. Once we have that, we can do the iteration, right? So now we have that like first stage of our product, our idea done, and now we can proceed to building it and delivering the full product. Okay, now we have again the oversight thing, like work tracking. We need to track absolutely everything. Like we need to know where are we at in our phases, in our time frames. Are we on time? What's lacking? What dependencies do we have? Like everything needs to be tracked, and it goes hand to hand with progress visibility. Like we need to know where are we at right now and are we doing good or not, because like we are not really trying to be late for 3 months, right? So like we need to know where are we at. And also cross collaboration, like we are, and this is super important, we are not trying to build silos in terms of, okay, if I have community managers, if I have developers, if I have BD guys, if I have socials team, right? We are not trying to build this idea in a way that like all of these teams are going to be working separately and no one has like they all have zero clue what's happening in the other departments, like in the other teams that are working on this idea. that's just not going to work. Like long term, especially, that's not good. And that's why we need to have that cross collaboration between different departments to get that idea shipped the best possible way you can. Then you have go to market, right? Like, how are you going to approach the markets with this idea? Like, who is your target audience? How are you targeting them? Channels, like through which channels are you pushing that idea out, right? Campaigns, are you running any campaigns? Okay, let's sort it out. Who do we need? Like, do we need some partners? Like, call the BD guys, see left and right. Like, there is a lot of things you need to think of here, and it's not just thinking of here, now it's actually doing it. And then you have the reflect and improve after everything is shipped, everything is fully live. Now you have that, my favorite part of it, you have the data, you have the feedback, and then you can update. And that update part is really just like iteration and improvement based on everything you've collected with your idea of your product you kind of shipped, right? And now, to again make this all less theoretical and less yada yada, we are going back to the community example, right? Where we'll kind of try to explain what does it mean in terms of like a real idea we can actually see right now. So core objective here would be having that quest system live, right? Like if we have the whole flow live and we have people organized, like that's our core objective. That's when we know our idea is good to go, right? Now we have phases. Okay, so phase one would be, let's organize these people into these groups. And while that's happening, and while we're explaining to them how the whole system is going to work, our devs are going to ship the whole campaign system. And then the phase three is going to be the part where we're kind of like testing it out. Then we have the small phase, like the small like iteration and updates part, and then we have like pushing it live, right? Like so, these would be our phases. Roles, okay, as we said, we need maybe two community managers to get everything done with the community aspect of it, and then we need some devs to kind of ship the whole quest campaign system, right? Dependencies, for example, we can't go into the testing phase until the devs are done, right? And also our community members can't really start even like having the idea of it until the devs ship it out. So like we are kind of relying on the devs a lot here, because until they ship the whole system, which is our core objective here, we can't really proceed to testing, then iteration, updating, and then going live, right? So like that's the dependency we have here. But that dependency is not something that my devs have 3 months of work and they have to ship like 10 different projects before they get to this one. No, it's more of, okay, like they need to just invest some time to finish it up, but like it's building for this idea. So like in scope wise, we are good, right? Okay, resources, what do we need? Budget, as I said, we're not wasting that much resources here, since it's just like quest rewards pool, and that's basically it. Maybe some external connections to kind of help build up this quest campaign system, but like the cost is not big. Tools, nothing basically. We have Discord, that's it. Tech stack, we have devs who are going to be building this system, which is sort of like a new part of the infrastructure, but we said we are kind of adapting what we have already, so that's also okay. Contributors, okay, who is doing it? Two community managers, okay, it's going to be me and Emco. We have devs, it's going to be Quacken, and it's going to be, I don't know, who else? That's good. Oversight, okay, so for example, I will oversight Emco, Maki is going to oversight me, and Carlo is going to be in the oversight aspect by someone, right? So like that's how we solve that part out. And you see I kind of speed it up a bit. MVP, minimal viable version, we are getting that once we have the dev part shipped and we have the community organized. That's how we got to the testing phase, right? That's our MVP here. We have the system running, we can test it out. Then we have the feedback from our community that's testing the whole part there, and then we have the iteration and it's all done, right? We have build and deliver, which is okay. Like we have the iteration part, now we can proceed with building the full product. Okay, so we are tracking the work here. As I said, it's basically the same as oversight, right? Okay, I'm tracking how much time Amco needs to kind of filter these groups up so we can start working. Maki is tracking Carlo to see how long he needs to ship this quest system up, and so on. Progress visibility, same thing, right? Like if we are communicating, if you're open about it, if we have the oversight of it, we know where we are at. Cross collaboration, we're working together. Like I need to kind of be briefed on what the devs are working on in terms of like where are we at with the quest campaign system, and they need to know like how are we standing with the community members being formed into groups and being ready to be testing out everything and being shipped like as in a full product, right? Go to market, target audience. I mean, right here we are really targeting the people that are inside our community, which means that there is no really like go to market. It's really go to the community we already have. So channels wise, it's Discord, and it's going to be pushed on X. Campaigns and partnerships we are not really doing. It's like an in-house idea to improve some issues we have in-house, so we do not have that aspect here. And then again, data feedback update, it's collecting the engagement we are getting on these posts. We are seeing like how well are these groups performing or are not performing well, who we need to kind of like remove or add in, and that's how we get the feedback there, right? And then update based upon the whole data and the feedback we got, right? That kind of sums it up, right? And it's really similar to understanding the structure, right? In a way that like, okay, sure, now I know all the steps I need to execute this idea. And then if I just like go over every single piece of it, I'm kind of like ensuring that I'll do a good job, right? Like it might not turn the best, it can still fail, but like I did the best thing I could possibly do. Like I went over absolutely every single little thing. I thought about it, I talked about it, and we came up with the whole plan and the whole system of it, and we put it to work. And if it works, it works. If not, we did the best we could. We didn't just mindlessly go into it, right? And the key point here is there is no great idea without a great execution. So if you have the best idea ever and your idea was filtered out as a quality idea, if you do not follow the structure when it comes to the execution, and if your execution is just like messy, you're probably going to fumble a very great idea you had without even knowing where you went wrong. And that's it. Guys, thank you so much. I hope that this kind of gave you an overview of how would you approach that aspect of having your idea and bringing it to life, and that it's not just something that's okay, I have it, I ship it, that's it. There is a lot more thinking and a lot more doing before you can actually say, okay, my idea is now my achievement. It's not just something that got lost up in the air. Okay. Okay, as I said, we're not wasting that much resources here, since it's just like quest rewards pool, and that's basically it. Maybe some external connections to kind of help build up this quest campaign system, but like the cost is not big. Tools, nothing. Basically, we have Discord. That's it. Tech stack, we have devs who are going to be building this system, which is sort of like a new part of the infrastructure, but we said we are kind of adapting what we have already, so that's also okay. Contributors, okay, who is doing it? Two community managers, okay, it's going to be me and Emco. We have devs, it's going to be Quacken, and it's going to be, I don't know, who else? That's good. Oversight, okay, so for example, I will oversight Emco, Maki is going to oversight me, and Carlo is going to be in the oversight aspect by someone, right? So like that's how we solve that part out. And you see I kind of speed it up a bit. MVP, minimal viable version, we are getting that once we have the dev part shipped and we have the community organized. That's how we got to the testing phase, right? That's our MVP here. We have the system running, we can test it out. Then we have the feedback from our community that's testing the whole part there, and then we have the iteration and it's all done, right? We have build and deliver, which is okay. Like we have the iteration part, now we can proceed with building the full product. Okay, so we are tracking the work here. As I said, it's basically the same as oversight, right? Okay, I'm tracking how much time Amco needs to kind of filter these groups up so we can start working. Maki is tracking Carlo to see how long he needs to ship this quest system up, and so on. Progress visibility, same thing, right? Like if we are communicating, if you're open about it, if we have the oversight of it, we know where we are at. Cross collaboration, we're working together. Like I need to kind of be briefed on what the devs are working on in terms of like where are we at with the quest campaign system, and they need to know like how are we standing with the community members being formed into groups and being ready to be testing out everything and being shipped like as in a full product, right? Go to market, target audience. I mean, right here we are really targeting the people that are inside our community, which means that there is no really like go to market. It's really go to the community we already have. So channels wise, it's Discord, and it's going to be pushed on X. Campaigns and partnerships we are not really doing. It's like an in-house idea to improve some issues we have in-house, so we do not have that aspect here. And then again, data feedback update, it's collecting the engagement we are getting on these posts. We are seeing like how well are these groups performing or are not performing well, who we need to kind of like remove or add in, and that's how we get the feedback there, right? And then update based upon the whole data and the feedback we got, right? That kind of sums it up, right? And it's really similar to understanding the structure, right? In a way that like, okay, sure, now I know all the steps I need to execute this idea. And then if I just like go over every single piece of it, I'm kind of like ensuring that I'll do a good job, right? Like it might not turn the best, it can still fail, but like I did the best thing I could possibly do. Like I went over absolutely every single little thing. I thought about it, I talked about it, and we came up with the whole plan and the whole system of it, and we put it to work. And if it works, it works. If not, we did the best we could. We didn't just mindlessly go into it, right? And the key point here is there is no great idea without a great execution. So if you have the best idea ever and your idea was filtered out as a quality idea, if you do not follow the structure when it comes to the execution, and if your execution is just like messy, you're probably going to fumble a very great idea you had without even knowing where you went wrong. And that's it. Guys, thank you so much. I hope that this kind of gave you an overview of how would you approach that aspect of having your idea and bringing it to life, and that it's not just something that's okay, I have it, I ship it, that's it. There is a lot more thinking and a lot more doing before you can actually say, okay, my idea is now my achievement. It's not just something that got lost up in the air. Okay,